Breaking Bridget.
The cast review came out this week, which is it was written by a British pediatrician. It's nearly 400 pages long. It took over 4 years to complete. And basically, Cass took a look at all of the gender affirming care, as I say in quotes, and looked at all the models and numbers and saw if it was actually helpful, and found that shockingly, there's really no scientific basis for any of it, and all of these people who are pushing it are ideologues, which is what we've been saying. The TERFs were freaking right all along. Those of us who have been screaming and been deplatformed and silenced and probably put into some weird algorithmic black hole, and J.K. Rowling, who have all been screaming about this, are going to be proven right over time. This is not a hard thing to figure out, because when in the history of the world have we looked back and been like, you know what? Sterilizing that population, it was a good thing. Never! It's never been a good thing. It's a horrific thing. It's looked at as a tragedy. It is actually crazy that we're living through this time of lobotomies, basically. This is like when they were lobotomizing everybody and the doctors were all behind it. All these doctors and people who are behind this, and normal people who will get behind this because they want clout and they feel socially pressured. And in the medical industry, they want money and prestige, and they look like they're the progressive advanced cause. And they're all going to pretend they were not behind this. I hope. I mean, Europe is headed in the right direction scientifically. Can we get on board, please? The game is up. Can we please just accept that this was a horrific tragedy and try and move on? Because I get emotional thinking about how many of these kids we failed. We failed them. I feel like even though I've been screaming about this, I didn't do enough. I still feel like we as a society failed all of these young kids. It is egregious. Some of the findings of the cast review from Lisa Selin-Davis at the Free Press: thousands of vulnerable young people were given life-altering treatments with no good evidence on the long-term outcomes of interventions to manage gender-related distress. It has been suggested that, big surprise, that's my editorializing, hormone treatment reduces the elevated risk of death by suicide in this population, but the evidence found did not support this conclusion. Social justice ideology is driving medical decision-making, and the toxicity of the debate has created an environment where professionals are so afraid to openly discuss their views. So there have been many whistleblowers in Europe who have been calling this, saying that these kids are just put on this path. They often come out as some of the other findings are that which we've covered, they usually come out as gay. We had Helen Joyce on Walk-Ins Welcome talking about this. It's what motivated her to become an activist in this regard. And she had this realization that they were sterilizing gay kids, essentially, and became very outspoken in Turf Island, UK, about this issue. And she's brilliant. You should check out that episode. And they also found, surprise, surprise, that puberty blockers have side effects. Who would have ever guessed that, other than any fucking idiot with a brain? Ugh. Like, it's so crazy to me that you can convince a population of people who have brains that puberty blockers wouldn't have any side effects. I don't need to be a doctor to figure that might have some large cascading effect on the way that all of my systems develop, being that hormones and puberty are such a massive transition that your entire body goes through. This is what's actually crazy. I am living through a time where I no longer wonder how lots of good people are convinced to do bad things, and convinced of it because of by some propaganda that tells them that they're righteous and that they're on the right side of history. And people will literally put aside their own eyes and brain and common sense and adopt whatever talking points get them the most social acceptance and clout. And it again, the culture wars are very responsible for a lot of this because people are so afraid to be aligned with the right wing or the other tribe that they will just say whatever they think is true to keep them in the good graces of their tribe or not be seen as the other tribe, even if it's completely nonsensical and dangerous. When you read this report, it is very upsetting. You know, there's 9,000 kids in England have been affected by this. And there was like this one line in her review, Cass directly addresses the 9,000 young people who have moved through gender treatments via the NHS. This is not even including what's gone on in America. Stating bluntly, research has, quote, let us all down, most importantly, you. And we've had, I get so upset about this. We have failed. It is insane. And the resentment and rage that is coming from that generation is justified.
Yeah. I mean, we met 3 detransitioners
the other night,
a few weeks ago. And
2 detransitioners, one to
all
sister.
3 of them. Oh,
no,
okay.
he was desisting.
And they were like 21 years old.
Yeah.
All 3 of them. And
they had already been through this and put on the path.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's crazy. Medical associations from, and again, this is from the Free Press article, medical associations from the American Academy of Pediatrics to the American Psychological Association continue to support the affirmative model criticized by Cass in her report. How are you going to come back from this? You lost all your credibility during freaking COVID, and now you're just torching it on the gender affirming care model, which is not... The entire White House has gotten behind this. All of these associations, the Association of Pediatrics and the American Psychological Association, then you wonder why people aren't vaccinating their kids. The like spider web of consequences from this are going to ripple through generations. You cannot be like, we're the party of science and not pay attention when someone has looked at the science and said there's no definitive proof that this makes anything better, and we should not be putting these kids on this path until we know that it does make things better, and in fact it often makes things worse. And they don't even have a way to figure out if someone's gonna be a detransitioner. They can't, there's no way of telling that. It's like that alone should make you pause and stop. I'm sorry, but this shit is nuts. I agree with Blair White, who tweeted 2 years ago that in the coming years, and here we are, people are going to pretend they were never behind this. And I know people will be like, yeah, it's same with like people forcing people to get the jab, which is also true. All those lunatics who are like, you should get the jab. You should lose your job. You should be ostracized from society and not allowed to fly. That was crazy. I think a lot about Jesse Kelly, and he was right about a lot of things, and I've admitted how wrong I was about shutting America down for 2 weeks. But he was right in that during that time, seeing how complacent and obedient everybody was and going along with a lot of the draconian stuff and the terrifying ways in which the government just took power, he was like, I knew what time it was in America, and I know who I live with. And this is another one of those instances where I'm like, the fact that we have a large portion of America who will go along with this and tell you with a straight face that this is the scientific evidence behind it when it's not true is very troubling. I did love Lisa's line. The U.S. needs to form a truly bipartisan committee that looks at the evidence regarding youth gender medicine. As things stand now, we will continue to be stuck in a perpetual culture war with parents and distressed kids paying the price. Time's up. What a dumb, weird slogan that was. But on this, time is up. It's time to reverse course. Get on board on the right side of history. The side that is not sterilizing gay children and autistic kids. This is nuts. It's nuts. I can't believe people are like, can with a straight face be like, this, but this is what the science says. And blah, blah, blah. Well, folks,
PHETASY News.
It's been an enlightening week. I feel better. I don't know about you. I always am like, I have nothing to say when I sit down for dumpster fire. And then I'm like, I don't realize how much of dumpster fire is me just trying to like make sense of what I've been taking in all week. And I thank you for bearing with me and knowing that I am an idiot like you trying to make sense of the world. And I know nothing. I do know sterilizing kids is bad. That's one thing a hill I will die on. Free speech, also good. I hope they free Julian Assange.